technical stuff going. Good morning, all. We are meeting today as the Civil Service Commission. I'll have the commissioners introduce themselves. My understanding today, Ralph, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we are here today to review an HR policy.
That is correct.
And that's the limit of our involvement today.
That's the only thing that's on the docket for today.
Okay, all right. Minu, you want to start introducing yourself?
Manu Lee.
Alex Moore.
Denise Klein.
Trish Holland.
Tom McCormick.
All right. I understand we have a presentation about these policy changes. Good morning.
Good morning, members of the Civil Service Commission. We do have a presentation to go over our updates to the policy 300-1A and also the civil service exemption list.
Thank you. And will you just, for the record, introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm Charnel Jones, Human Resources Director.
Thank you. Go right ahead.
Overview of what we're going to discuss with you all today is just a little bit overview of the Commission's authority and jurisdiction, the Civil Service Act, positions that are exempt from the civil service, overview of the proposed changes for 300-1A, and then our proposed changes to the civil service exemptions list, and then ask you for any recommendations that you may have. So back in July, few months ago, we brought forward to you a updated or revised list of civil service exemptions, positions that were exempt from the civil service back in July. And then we took those forward to council on August 15th. And when we brought those forward to council on August 15th, they asked us to go back and look at our list and also some of the definitions that we use in regards to updating the list for positions that were exempt from the civil service. And so on September 5th, City Council requested that HR and the City Attorney's Office look at narrowing the scope of the exemption list and also providing definitions for divisions, looking at division heads and narrowing that scope of what those positions are classified or defining them a little bit more, and then also defining immediate secretaries, which there's currently not a definition for, and then provide rationale for that list. We came back to council on September 19th with those proposed definitions for division heads, and immediate secretaries. They approved those proposed definitions, and because of that approval, that requires a policy change to our 300-1A Human Resources Program definitions policy, and then it also requires us to go back and look at our exemption list and make sure that the positions that are exempt are aligned with those new proposed definitions. Just to recap, the authority and jurisdiction of the Civil Service Commission, as you know, the Raleigh Civil Service Act defines that scope of the authority and the subject matter jurisdiction when acting as a grievance appeals board. Your authority is to affirm, modify, or reverse as it deems necessary those actions over which it has jurisdiction. And jurisdictions fall under suspensions, layoffs, removals, promotions, forfeiture of pay, or loss of time, any of those items as it relates to a policy violation. Also, the Raleigh Civil Service Act establishes a personnel system that includes the classified service of all positions in the city, except for the ones that are exempt from the civil service. Those positions are elected officials, employees or officials appointed by the city council or appointed by the city manager and approved by the city council, and their immediate secretaries, department heads, division heads, and their immediate secretaries, part-time or non-permanent officers or employees, employees serving the probationary period before becoming permanent employees, and any employee applying for promotion to one of the positions listed in the subdivisions of sections 2 through 4. So the rationale for revising 300-1A, which is the Human Resources Program policy definitions, is to make sure that we align with the approved definitions by City Council for the Civil Service exemption list and the authority and jurisdiction of this, and align the authority, and jurisdiction of Civil Service Commission and city processes. So what we have updated in 300-1A is basically we created or added a definition for division. Currently, there was not one in the previous policy 300-1A, but we have now added the definition for division, which is a unit of a city department or of an established city office that is immediately below the department or office organizational level. An established office is one that appears on the city's organizational chart, such as the Office of Sustainability, the Office of Internal Audits. A division performs assigned functions within a department or office, and a city department and a city office may consist of one or more divisions. The next change was for division manager. Currently in policy 300-1, we did have division manager defined, and that was defined as an employee reporting to a department director, assistant director, or other city official charged with the responsibility for directing operations of a division of city government. With the policy change, division manager has been updated to a supervisor or managerial employee reporting to a department director, assistant director, or other city official, and charged with responsibility for directing operations, supervising personnel, setting and ensuring compliance with applicable laws, regulations, and department standards for a division or department of city government. The definition is provided for the purpose of aiding interpretation of the phrase division head in Section 2 of the Raleigh Civil Service Act. And the last change is to immediate secretaries. Currently, that is not defined in our policy 300-1A, but the policy change does include adding civil service exempt immediate secretary and defining that. The definition would be an employee who only performs clerical tasks and reports solely to an employee or official who is exempt from the Raleigh Civil Service Act. This definition is provided here solely for the purpose of aiding interpretation of the phrase immediate secretaries in Section 2 of the Raleigh Civil Service Act. So also, as you know, we are bringing forward the updated list for civil service exemptions, and the rationale is to make sure that we are in line with the new policy definitions for the Civil Service Act. So positions exempt from civil service list was updated to reflect those revisions in policy 300-A with the addition of the definitions for division, a civil service immediate secretaries, and the revision of the division manager. And just kind of wanted to see the difference in the numbers that were previously given to you. With regards to the 2021 is the last approved list that we have. There were 174 division heads and above, immediate secretaries, there were 48. With the list that we brought forward to you in July, that went up to 280, and immediate secretaries to 63. But now with the new list and the new definitions that have brought down the division head and above, individuals listed to 132 and immediate secretaries to 14. And just to slice it a different way, you can kind of see the overall number change with both of the lists in the second chart. So we ask that you provide, review and provide any recommendations that you may have so that we can move forward to the city manager for policy revision of 300-1A and the civil service exemption list. As you are currently aware, we still need to hold the election for the term that has expired currently on the Civil Service Commission. Questions?
I have a question. Could you go back one slide, please? So with these changes, there are going to be, if I'm reading this right, with these changes, there are going to be more people that are eligible for the civil service to appeal to the Civil Service Commission. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Are there other questions? Are there other recommendations?
I just have a quick question for clarification purposes. So the term immediate secretary, how's that defined internally before 2023? Or was there no definition for that?
There was no definition in policy 300-1A for immediate secretaries. So it wasn't defined in a policy. It was defined previously as anyone that was assisting administrative task to division head or director, the people that were listed on the list. The difference with having a definition now, it is stating that anyone that just does solely clerical work. And so that removed a lot of administrators off the list because they do more than just clerical work.
Okay, thank you.
And what is the grievance process for those immediate secretaries? Like if they feel that they would have, if they were included in the Civil Service Act and they felt they had a claim for loss of pay or forfeiture of time or failure of promotion, what is their grievance process if it doesn't end with the Civil Service Commission?
You're talking about the positions that are exempt?
Yeah, like
Okay.
immediate secretaries, I think.
They could still follow our policy 300-18 grievance process, depending upon the nature of the grievance is whether or not it would stop at a department level or if it would go to the city manager's level. But they still have a grievance process.
So if it's the city manager's immediate secretary and that individual feels like they were wronged, then they have no grievance process basically because it would end with the city manager, and so they have no, because if they were included in the Civil Service Act and it was the city manager because that's appointed by the city council, and so their immediate secretary would be exempt. But if they were included in the Civil Service Act and they felt they were wronged by the city manager, then they could come to the Civil Service Commission. But with them being removed from the Civil Service Act, then they have no further appeal process. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes. I mean, of course, Human Resources would look into any nature of a concern or a complaint.
Sure,
as well,
but
yes.
but
Correct.
but it's still,
Correct.
I mean,
It
but
will
it's still
stop.
ultimately
Yes,
the city manager.
they would not be able to go to the civil service.
Okay. And is there a reason why the immediate secretaries are like peeled off and not included in the Civil Service Act? Is there a rationale for that? Is there a reason for that?
It's based on general statute, but I will let if Deputy City Attorney wants to chime in from a legal aspect, but it is based
Sure.
on the general statute.
It is what the law requires, and so there is no flexibility.
Okay.
That is what the local act
Okay.
requires.
Are there other questions? Failing any other questions, is it the sense of the commission that we send this policy forward to the city with our recommendations?
I move to approve.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Ralph, I think we have no further business today. Is that correct?
That is correct. Just an update, the meeting in November, that would have been scheduled for November is canceled because I and my two coworkers will be out doing training for clerks training.
All right.
Though we have a regularly scheduled meeting for December. We haven't had anybody approach us saying they want to be heard, or January or February or whatever. So we still had those 6, of
Okay.
which 3 of those are still ongoing.
All right.
And all probably depending upon the off-duty on-call pay case, the one that's still going through the
Okay.
courts.
All right. Thank you for that update.
What did you say about November? I'm sorry. Cancel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ralph's on vacation training.
Oh, okay. Good for you.
All right. I think that's all of our business today. Thank you all. And thank you, HR department.
Thank you.